Hello everybody, I'm Matthew Street and welcome to my channel, and I have a special video today. I may even have a couple of videos coming up with my special guest today. Yes, I have with me in the Matt Street Studios, which has been faithfully located in my parents' basement. Yes, as you know. Yes.
True.
And this is my brother Scott Street. Scott Street, say hello to the people out there.
Hey, I'm really happy to be here. I'm really excited. Thank you.
So as you can tell, Scott is my younger brother, you know, as I look older and whatnot. But yes, he is 5 years younger than me. So in a sense, you would think 5 years is not that much. But in the world of music, folks, as you know, 5 years can be a lifetime. Based on what I experienced as a young child growing up and coming into my preteen and teenage years, and what Scott experienced during his youth, preteen and teenage years, could be vastly different. And in some sense, it was very different from my musical upbringing, but there's many similarities between the two of us, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
So what we're going to do now is I thought it'd be fun for a couple of videos to just talk to my brother Scott with you, share some of his earliest musical memories, some of his memories of the Beatles. Maybe he'll talk a little bit about some of his later musical memories when he was a teenager and a young adult. And then maybe we'll finish up this little series with talking about some of his Hall of Fame, so to speak, some of his favorite music he listens to today, and some of his classic favorites. So you ready to go with a
Actually, I'm
couple of
excited.
videos?
I'm excited.
This will be a lot of fun, and
yes.
I'm very excited that everybody will have the opportunity to meet you and see, you know, where our similarities lie in music and where they differ. I think will be quite interesting. So, what are some of your earliest musical memories as a young child? Being born, I'll just might as well tell you now, as you know, I was born in '61. He was born in 1966. So he's 5 years younger than me. So, earliest musical memories.
Do the math. Yeah, you know, it's funny because I actually think there's a couple of things that really stand out in my mind. And the first one is, I don't know if you remember, but Dad Street would always bring home two things I remember Dad always bringing home for Mom. And it was either flowers or albums.
Exactly, yes.
And I always thought as a little kid, I didn't think much of it, but I always thought it was so interesting that just as much as flowers were a sign of love, my parents looked at music as a way of showing love and expressing love because of their love for dance and music.
Yeah, and his big music store, as I remember, was Jordan Marsh in Boston. He used to go to the music department there when he was working or when he got out of work or during lunch breaks, and he would, I guess they would have actual people like a librarian who would work in the music department and offer you suggestions like, oh, you may want to check this out, sir, or you may want to check that out. And he bought many albums that way. So I just have a few of his old albums, and these are many of the ones he bought and brought home for Mom. I'm sure you remember the old Hooked on Classics.
Yeah, I actually remember when that came out. It's surprisingly, I really love it. Matt, I don't know if he's mentioned it in the past, but because of my parents growing up in the 1940s, swing music was huge in our household, and so I actually have a lot of love for classic 40s songs, and Hooked on Classics, it's great because it combines two genres of musics I love. That 40s sound, and then it has that disco backbeat, which Matt might mention that I'm probably one of the few in the Street family that loves disco and dance music.
Yes, so he does like disco and dance.
I do.
And
yes.
I can say with quite confidence that my parents enjoyed these albums, and as you know, if you watch any of the videos with my dad, going back a little bit, he did mention this type of genre and music that he enjoyed as well.
Matt, there's one thing I remember when I think about albums, because of course, like we said, my dad bringing home albums, a typical thing would be for my dad to make our mom and dad cocktails, and my mom would ask my dad to put on a stack of albums, which I thought was great.
Yeah.
But I remember this because they love to dance, and we don't experience this today. So for you younger folks out there, you're gonna really show my age. But the needle on the record would skip, and so imagine dancing to a certain beat, and then Matt, all of a sudden the beat changes.
Yeah.
It would really throw you off. But I do remember that. Yeah.
Now I'm just showing a few of their albums to you. You might remember a few of these.
Yeah, this is a great, my love for actually my love for just the whole Hispanic culture comes from Herb Albert. I mean, and the horns and the sounds, it was awesome. Still love him to this day.
Sergio Mendes, Brazil 66, that was a big one in the
Yeah, I
house.
don't remember that one as much.
You may remember this one though, the Baja Marimba Band.
Yeah, I do remember that one. Yeah,
It's a
absolutely.
big one in the house. Some of the earliest stuff Scott may not remember is when, in the early part of the 60s, when I was a young boy, I remember stuff like Al Hurt. They would be playing stuff like this.
Yeah, and you'll already see, Matt mentioned earlier about where my dad would get the albums. I had no recollection of that, so thanks, Matt. I don't remember that.
The old Jordan Marsh.
What's great about this album, Whipped Cream, was that I don't remember the songs as much unless I look at what's on the back. It was as a little boy looking the woman all in whipped cream and just being fascinated by that.
There is a song called Whipped Cream on here.
Yeah, and that's what I remember about that album. And this one, what I remember is my dad brought this home, never heard of her before.
Cleo Lane.
He loves this album. He loved it in the 80s or whenever he brought it home. Matt, he just played it all the time.
Yeah.
Loved it.
And just a couple more of theirs. We have Kimosabi instrumental album. You may remember the song. The big song I hear was called Kimosabi. Yeah,
that's more your generation in a sense. That we're talking about that 5-year gap.
This would also be in that 5-year
gap. I remember the cover. I just don't remember listening to it as much. Oh,
this one you must remember though.
Yeah, this one brings back a lot of memories, folks, and it's kind of a strange album to bring back that many memories. But again, my mother was obsessed with this album, and on the back she wrote, you could see what she thought of each song. And so it was just kind of hysterical. And she got I think she got her to sign it, didn't? Oh no.
No, she just wrote I
love this record,
and then signed her name, 1970.
Yeah. Mama Street loved that album.
And along with that, Dad bringing home records, I'm stacking records and listening to them together as a couple at night or whatever and enjoying it. And got, like Scott said, listening to them play music all the time. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention Ray Conniff.
Yeah, I mean, Ray Conniff is amazing, and maybe it's because I was so exposed to him, and most people would think I was nuts for my love of Ray Conniff, but it just has a it has a lot of great memories, because it does remind me of those nights. My dad would light a fire, he would make cocktails for my mom and him, and they'd put on a stack of albums, and I'd probably be doing a puzzle or something, and they were just.
That was always part of that soundtrack.
Yeah, it's really amazing, and I have a lot of connection to Ray and his Christmas album. Maybe one day Matt will do a Christmas video, or maybe he already has.
Yeah, I have.
Oh, you have? Okay, I must have missed that one. The great Ray Conniff Christmas album is iconic in the Street family.
And the as you know, I did a video with my dad a few months ago where we talked about Ray Conniff exclusively, so you can go back and check that out. And we both had the opportunity to go to see the Ray Conniff Museum, and that was a lot of fun. Well, so go back and check out that video. That was a lot of fun.
Sorry I missed that museum. I would have enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. How about some memories beyond just listening and Dad bringing home the records? Do you remember, I think you mentioned it briefly in the beginning, learning to dance. Do you remember that experience?
Yeah, I don't know if you folks out there listening have those moments in your life that, like your childhood, are just pivotal to who you are today. And Matt can probably attest to this, is that our mom taught us how to dance. And I remember I remember what she was wearing. I remember the song. I just remember the technique she used. And it was in 69, 70. I was like 4 years old, and she took me and my brothers, including Matt, in the living room and put on the song Dance to the Music by Sly and the Family Stone. And she completely taught us how to dance using a very simple technique, which was move your feet to the beat.
It's just like that.
Yeah, once you get the beat down in your feet, which is kind of a cool saying, get the beat down in your feet, she says you could do anything else with your upper body. And it actually really works. And I'm not a bad dancer for a very tall white guy. People have told me that I'm not bad, and it's because of Mom Street.
Well, he got beyond the instruction of after you get your feet going like this, moving to the beat, then you can do whatever you want with your upper body. I never seem to catch on to that concept. So when I dance, it's pretty much no upper body, just a lot of this.
Matt, you got to move your hips.
Yeah,
you got to move your hips.
Got to move the hips and the arms and the shoulders a little bit. I'm learning, but
Mama Street told us about moving your hips.
I just always self-conscious. I guess I feel like a robot. You know?
Can't be conscious.
Anyway, okay. But that was a great one to.
Awesome album, and not only "Dance to the Music" is a great song, but so many other wonderful songs on there, like "Everyday People." So if you have never listened to it, take a listen.
Hey, real quick, do you remember going to see the Harlem Globetrotters, and then afterwards, I was so enamored with them and their song, I bought this single. This is my original single, "Sweet Georgia Brown," Harlem Globetrotter song, and we were down in the basement playing basketball and stuff. Do you remember any of that?
Wow, is this the one that you actually got?
Yes, this is the one actual single. Yeah,
that's amazing that you saved it.
Yeah, it was.
When was that? Was that? It was. That's.
Well, I keep it with my 45s and stuff, and
I remember that.
I actually bought this at a Harlem Globetrotters basketball game. I can actually
Medalock
show you the
Lemon.
vinyl.
That was the '70s Harlem Globetrotters. Medalock Lemon. Who was
Curly Neal?
Curly Neal.
Oh, so many.
Did one of us go down on the floor, or am I making that up?
Well, they would do stunts and throw confetti and buckets and do all kinds of funny stunts and whatnot. We may have been part of a gag or something, but I don't remember specifically.
I don't know why
but
I remember that.
I remember being so enamored with them and the fun of their show, and then I had to buy the single, and then I remember coming home, putting this on my parents' old hi-fi and jumping around the basement, throwing a little rubber basketball into a little toy hoop and pretending we were the Harlem Globetrotters. Silly stuff.
The Street Boys were very rambunctious, young little boys. So
hey,
yes.
How about some memories of? You were the only one in the family. I fiddled around with a guitar a little bit, and we had our other brother, whose name is Jeff. He fiddled around with a saxophone a little bit, but you were probably the most dedicated to a musical instrument for the longest period. You played the organ and actually took organ lessons. Can you talk a little bit about...
Thanks, Matt. Thanks. A very dark period in my life. Yeah, thanks, Matt.
A dark period. Well, I was going to ask you, talk about some of the positives and negatives of organ.
All right, that's good. Do you want to hear the positives first or the negatives?
You go whatever you think is appropriate.
Well, the positives. Let me start with the negatives.
Okay, go for it.
I wanted all the glory and I didn't want the work, so I hated to practice.
Yeah.
And I got lured in by the buttons on an organ like that you can do polka, rumba, you know. I thought that was the coolest thing. I should have stuck with my original, which was I was going to take piano lessons, but I still think I wouldn't have practiced. I just thought with practicing, I didn't want to dedicate myself to it, which is sad. I kind of.
Did you enjoy doing those recitals you used to have?
No. Oh my! I suffered so much anxiety back then. Yeah. That's why I lost my hair. I think I was under way too much stress. It's funny because as an adult, I love to and feel very comfortable in front of people and part of what I do for work. But back then, leading up to it, folks, I was a wreck. I was a wreck.
Right.
I hated it.
Well, wasn't that fun?
Positive memories? No, I hate to say it, and for you folks out there,
we need something positive.
Okay, let me think.
Something positive.
So there was a time when it's kind of funny. House guests would come over, and our mom would want to showcase her son's talent, and so she would make me sit in front of the organ and play all these songs. And I remember this one particular time where our grandmother came over, and I must have played half-ass songs for about an hour.
I used to play a lot of polkas.
A lot of polkas. Actually, that was kind of my thing. The Pennsylvania polka is one of my personal favorites, and I played it at a recital.
Yeah.
But I just remember feeling pretty good that I had all this attention on me for an hour, which was probably a mediocre performance at best.
Yeah.
But they seemed to love it, and they were beaming, so that was a positive memory.
Oh,
absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, the adoration was pretty nice.
And I believe you used to play Love Me Tender by Elvis.
Yeah, I did.
And you Elvis fans out there, played some Elvis.
Well, it's funny, Matt, because even though this was the late 70s, I thought it was such a big deal that I knew how to play Love Me Tender because it was a known song in popular culture. It wasn't the Pennsylvania polka or the beer barrel polka or something. And I even learned I did Color My World by Chicago. was one of my second song with a polka at one of my recitals.
I don't have a Chicago album.
I know.
My
I just
dad
thought of that.
loved Chicago. So.
Yeah, our father loved Chicago. We actually saw the tribute band, and didn't we?
We saw the actual Chicago.
We saw the actual Chicago.
The tribute band, and years ago we saw Chicago back in the '80s or something. My dad really
Was I
enjoyed
there?
that. Oh yeah, I believe you were. Yeah,
I had to be.
Yeah,
So great.
Great memories of those early musical days. So I'm going to end it here, folks, with the musical memories, but we'll be back again. Hang in there. Bye bye.
Thanks.